Hey, welcome to 10 Math Minutes, where we learn an effective math strategy in 10 minutes or less to grow your mind and your teaching. I'm Naomi Church with Growing Minds Consulting, and today we're going to be discussing another one of my favorite math strategies, which one doesn't belong. So, what is which one doesn't belong? Well, it's an instructional routine to help students think deeply about mathematics. According to an NCTM blog from December 2018, routines are an essential part of mathematics classrooms because they give structure to time and interactions, letting students know what to expect in terms of participation, supporting classroom management and organization, and promoting productive classroom relationships for teaching and learning. So, why should we use this strategy? Well, I have 3 reasons for you. Math practice standard number 3, it encourages a growth mindset and it supports expressive language. So, let's get a little deeper into these 3. So, the mathematical practice standards, or they can sometimes be referred to as the standards for mathematical practice, are essentially how we teach math. So the various state content standards are what we teach, but these are how we should be teaching math to help students become proficient. So the purpose of these practices is really to build critical thinkers. Which one doesn't belong helps with math practice number 3, which is about constructing viable arguments and critiquing the reasoning of others. And you'll see in just a moment how students are able to construct those arguments and really critique the reasoning of their peers. So, reason number 2 is it encourages a growth mindset. So, Carol Dweck's research has shown that most people have one of 2 mindsets, either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. So, people with a growth mindset value learning over looking smart. They tend to embrace challenges, persist in the face of obstacles. They see effort as necessary because you can't learn and grow without trying your very best. They learn from criticism and they are inspired by the success of others. Whereas those with a fixed mindset have this idea that you were either born smart or you weren't, that there is a finite amount of intelligence that you started out with, and that can't be changed. So these people tend to avoid challenges, they give up easily, they see effort as pointless because, after all, you were either born with it or you weren't. They ignore useful criticism and they're threatened by the success of others. So, some common math myths are that some people have a gift for math and some don't. Jo Boaler states that no one is born knowing math and no one is born lacking the ability to learn math. Researchers have found that math is the subject most college professors have fixed ideas about as far as who can learn it and who can't, and negative messages about girls and math are widespread. The second myth here is that everyone has a math wall, a barrier they can't go beyond. And 95% of all people should actually be able to take calculus. Whether you want to or not is a totally different story. But really, kids who believe that math is a you have it or you don't kind of subject are less likely to succeed. And high achieving girls are most likely to have a fixed mindset. Students of color and girls are most positively impacted by having a growth mindset about math. One of Jo Boaler's recommendations for parents is to always be encouraging and never tell kids that they're wrong when they're working on math problems. Instead, try to find the logic in their thinking, because there's usually some kind of logic to what they're saying. And finally, reason number 3 is this routine supports expressive language. So, expressive language is the use of words, sentences, gestures, and writing to convey meaning and messages to others. Expressive language is important because it enables children to be able to express their wants and needs through thoughts and ideas, argue a point of view, develop their use of language in writing, and engage in successful interactions with others. Oftentimes, students can struggle with expressive language, so being able to practice it through a routine in mathematics is very helpful. So, we talked about what WODB is, why we should use it. So, now let's talk about how the routine works. So, first, we're going to look at all the images. Then, we're going to decide which one doesn't belong. You can have students pair share, then whole group share, and then reflect. So if you think back to Sesame Street with which one of these things is not like the others, that's essentially what we're doing here. Which one doesn't belong is a strategy to use with students that helps them reposition mistakes, since none of the answers are wrong as long as they can justify their thinking. So it really helps them to build that growth mindset. So they'll look at all of the images and they'll decide which one of these doesn't belong, and they'll explain why it doesn't belong. So, for example, if we look at A doesn't belong because it's a numeral instead of dots. B doesn't belong because it shows 1 instead of 5. C doesn't belong because it's smaller than the others, and D doesn't belong because it's blue. So you could have them share out with a partner, then you could have them share out whole group. So they're working on that expressive language and that ability to construct viable arguments. Then we want them to think about how other people saw it. So they can reflect, and you can even use a sentence starter like this one to have them do that. I understand how blank saw the images because blank. And so here they're able to talk about how somebody else saw it. Once you start with some fun examples, you can get even deeper into the mathematics with geometry examples or ones like this here. And you can find more examples to use at wodb.ca. So if you're interested in learning more, there's great examples on that website. And you can also check out Christopher Danielson's book, Which One Doesn't Belong? And there's even a teacher's edition that goes along with it. Thank you so much for joining me for 10 Math Minutes.